Hello there, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Casey Calderman. Join with me is Sam Lance.
I'm Sam. Hi. How's it going, everybody?
It's going good, Sam. I'm excited. We're joined here on another special episode of the podcast, doing another interview. We're talking about a film called Alien Planet. This film is now streaming. It is one of those movies that our listeners, if you have not watched the film, you can go out, watch right now. We're going to throw the director in here in just a second to tell you where you can watch that. But again, we're talking about Alien Planet with the director, writer, Alan Maxson. Alan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Absolutely.
So again, like I said, first things first, where can people watch this movie? I think it's kind of for some reason rare for us to have a movie already out as we're talking about it. That makes it more exciting for me because people listening can go watch the film right here, right now, and then come back to this conversation as almost a companion piece.
I love that. Yeah. So you can watch it on pretty much all the streaming platforms. You can find it on Amazon, Apple TV, Tubi, Reveal, Typhoon. I believe it's also on YouTube free with ads. You can also buy the Blu-ray on Amazon for you physical media collectors, which I recommend because it's actually the best quality of video and audio, and it has 2 making of extra features and some deleted scenes that you can't get on streaming. So yeah, you can find it anywhere. And then there's also alienplanetfilm.com has links to all those. So if you don't feel like hitting in the search bar, there's an easy button to make everything simple.
Heck yeah.
Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we are super pumped to jump into this. This is a movie I'm gonna let you just jump into in terms of what this movie is about. So if people haven't heard of the film Alien Planet, what would you describe the film as? What is this film about?
Well, okay. So I'm gonna give I'm going to give my version, and then I want to hear your version. So this movie is about a barfing space cat.
Okay. Yeah.
That's one version of it. Now I want to know your version.
I looked at, while I was watching this movie, I was like, this is like Power Rangers and Star Trek put in a really gory blender with just some fantastic makeup effects and gore gags. And without getting into spoilers, I appreciated how dark it got.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting you mentioned Power Rangers. Now this, I want to pick your brain because
okay.
On YouTube, so we have a trailer, and there was a particular week recently where it just went viral, and it got I think like 67,000 views or something like that. And so the comments are going, and as people on YouTube know, there's never any positive comments. YouTube is notorious for just being mean. And many comments kept comparing it to Power Rangers. And my mind was boggled. I'm like, I can't fathom the connection. To me, it's absurd connection that even as an insult, it doesn't even make sense to me. So I'm very curious how you would compare it to Power Rangers. Why do you use that as a comparison?
I think it's the aliens in the suit. Like it's the man in the suit prosthetics. Like that's the first. It's probably because of my generation. Like the first man in suit prosthetics I remember seeing. A lot of kids, it was Godzilla. Me, it was the monsters in Power Rangers. And
so it's simply like a practical effect, is what.
It's more. It's not necessarily like anything story wise or anything. It's just more the man in the monster suit aspect of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's definitely.
And I definitely don't mean it as an insult. I love Power Rangers. So
as soon as Sam said that to me when he was watching the film of it's Star Trek and Power Rangers together, I'm like, I got the Star Trek thing right away because it does feel very much Star Trek, and kind of sort of the basic origins of in the basic DNA of the movie. But also the Power Rangers thing comes in for me. As soon as Sam said that, I was like, oh yeah, the Dweller is a Power Rangers villain. And by that I mean a great Power, like the one I would remember as a kid of being scary and mean. Like that's the Power Rangers villain right there.
That makes sense. The Dweller. I see that now. I guess it's interesting because I feel like, as a person who grew up when there was far more practical than CG, that's like the last thing I would connect to associate with that. But I mean, to each their own.
That's fair. Yeah.
I guess in a realistic way, now that the audience has listened to 6 minutes of they still have no idea what this movie's about, maybe I should tell them. So the movie it's about two alien species that are stuck on a planet together, and they have a history of hatred and bigotry and prejudice towards each other. And the Dweller, the AKA Power Rangers monster, comes in and gives them a reason to be forced to collaborate and get along, put their differences aside in order to survive.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the Star Trek of it. That's the intelligent part of it. Here we are. We're talking about the Power Rangers part because me and Sam are not the intelligent type that pick up on the Star Trek stuff.
I'm so grateful you mentioned Power Rangers though, because that's the one thing that's just I've read. There's tons of references towards that on YouTube, and I'm just like I don't understand. But now
I think that's what it is. I genuinely think it's the Dweller, because the Dweller is very like. And like I said, especially Casey and I, we don't mean that in any kind of like derogatory way.
Oh, no.
Casey and I are both like massive Power Rangers fans.
And even if you did, it's like I said, I don't think there's a single good comment on YouTube.
Well, yeah. YouTube is nuts, man. It's a hellscape sometimes.
It's a cesspool for bad comments.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I gotta ask if they're asking about. I'm gonna ask the questions the audience are probably thinking right now as they're still trying to, get into this movie a little bit. Especially for those people who were, like you said, watching the trailer, comparing it to Star Wars. What were the comments saying about the practical makeup effects in this? Because that's the first thing when you sent this over, I was like, oh my gosh, that looks incredible. The prosthetics look incredible. The makeup work looks incredible in this movie. Are they also comparing that to Power Rangers? Even though Power Rangers isn't really known for that. Power Rangers is known for very, very, very cheap makeup that looks very cheap. This does not. No. This looks like, oh my gosh, that's a real alien being. The Dweller looks incredible. What's I guess the fan response, or at least the people commenting on YouTube's response, been to the practical side, the makeup side of this?
Well, I think first off, the YouTube side, I'm just going to push that away because I feel like
that's fine. I was using this as a segue to get to like the good stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Because the YouTube stuff it's like run-on sentences with no periods and half thoughts and half and like especially being someone of I'm about to turn 40. I feel like the demographic who's commenting on YouTube, I don't even know what half the words mean that they write. I think a lot of the younger YouTube people have created new words that it's past me. I don't even know. So I don't know. But the critics and the fans, the things that I've noticed about the critics who have done reviews, there's been, I think, a handful, over 20 or more, movie review websites and stuff like that have done write-ups and nothing but love for it because the practical effects, like you said, they look awesome. And the story, I think a lot of people are loving that Star Trek vibe because you don't get a lot of that today. I mean, I guess
not even in a Star Trek movie.
there's like 5 TV shows airing currently, so you get it there. But like in movies and stuff, there aren't a lot like that. And so it's getting a lot of love because it's so unique for current day, but it's so familiar with everything from film history. And I'm grateful for that people are digging it. And I think it's the people who watch this, like the trailer doesn't hide what it is. You watch the trailer, you know what you're getting into. So like you're not going to watch this movie if you're not into that kind of film. So
Yeah,
it's definitely got the right audience, and it's getting the love. And so I'm very grateful. And the makeup was, I think, one of the most important parts and the biggest hurdle for this movie to get made. So I'm grateful that people are recognizing it and loving what we did for it.
absolutely. Absolutely. You know, when we first asked you to sell your movie, you said barfing space cat. And that's one of my notes is just Gyrie. I got to talk about Gyrie. I'm a cat person.
Mhm.
I have one
All
on my
good
lap
people,
as we speak. Um,
all good
um,
people.
right, yes, yes. Cat people are the good ones. You gotta find cat people. Um, I love Gyrie. I love the puppetry. Um, Casey and I both watched the behind the scenes video that you sent us.
Cool.
I loved seeing the green suit, the puppetry in motion, all of that. Can you talk us through the process of creating and bringing Gyrie to life? Because like I die for that freaking puppet. Like
Yeah, well, Gyrie is actually it's the most simple of puppets. There's no
Mhm.
animatronics. There's nothing crazy about it. It's literally a hand in the butt style puppet, and it's all controlled with arm, wrist, heads, and fingers. The,
Seriously, that's it.
yeah, that's all it is.
Mhm.
And Nahia Lajoie, who was the puppeteer for it, she did absolutely fantastic, and
Yeah.
she brought Gyrie to life. But that was one of the things that we talked about when I spoke to her, because she, one of her many jobs other than being an actress is she's a mermaid, so she does live mermaid performance for events and other things like photo shoots and stuff like that. So she's
Okay.
used to what I consider puppeteering with her body, because when you have
Mhm.
to move your lower half as if it's like a fin and control it like it's a real part of your body, especially underwater, that's puppeteering to me. And so
Yeah.
I pitched her the idea of doing Gyrie, and she was down for the challenge, and she conquered. She kicked so much ass doing that, because it was not easy. You know, Gyrie had to be in a lot of precarious places on set. Like
Mhm.
when we're outside, not only was it steaming hot, but we were in areas where there's thorns and uncomfortable bushes and rocks, and when we're in California, so we have none of our plants are soft. They all have needles and sharp parts,
Mhm.
and she was just awesome, and she got on her hands and knees and crawled through all this filth, um, and then even when we're on the soundstage, a soundstage, it was great, because when we're in the spaceship stuff, the floor it's like egg crate things made of plastic, and so if you try crawling around on that on your hands and knees, it hurts. So
Oh
Mhm.
we
yeah.
had her. She had some knee pads, and then um, she just conquered and kicked ass. So I'm grateful that she was so awesome, because Gyrie is amazing. I think
Yeah.
it's probably my favorite character as well in the movie.
Yeah, the just the life that she breathes into it, just through the performance is
Mhm.
great. Yeah, yeah. The minute Gyrie's on screen, it's just like instant. Yeah, I'm in love with that. I'm in love with that goofy space cat. Like I just love it.
Mhm.
So
Good, good.
that's
So
awesome.
then I'm going to ask kind of a follow up to that, because you're talking about your puppeteer actor walking around on hands and knees on uncomfortable terrain and kind of any situation. You yourself, as an actor who does performance work, motion capture work, creature effects work, what was it like as the director on the project to lend your own personal experience and expertise to all of your actors, whether it be under makeup or puppeteering? What was it like being on that side for this project?
I thought it was great. For me, it was very rewarding to direct people in the position that I'm normally in. So since I'm normally in either a suit, I've also done puppeteering and I've also done heavy prosthetics. So I've been in literally all of those shoes, and it was very rewarding to help work with them and watch them go through the journey of these characters, because there are no human characters at all in the movie. And so it was a lot of fun to basically take what I do and just like add it to, put it on steroids and just make every character in the movie that. And it was great. And everybody was awesome. Everyone was so willing to go the extra mile, and their performances were all great. And I think it's tough because a lot of those stuff, it's uncomfortable, it's hot, it can get claustrophobic. And we had a total of 14 shoot days. And so, I mean, getting that stuff glued to your face for 14 days in a row can get old quick. And so I'm grateful that they were all just awesome performers and kicked ass, because it shows on screen.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy crap. 14 days for this? That's insane, man. Props to you. Holy crap.
Thank you.
So you use a lot of like real locations, obviously. Like there's a lot of outdoor scenes, and you do a good job of adding details to the like real locations that aren't, like built, painted over sets to make them seem alien enough. Now in the behind the scenes feature, I see that like you only had one plant that you were kind of repurposing, and then a few bigger tentacles from the plant, which those plants are great, by the way. I love it. Yeah, can you talk us through like making the countryside of, I'm guessing like you shot this in California? Yeah.
Yes.
So, well, obviously you just said that. So yeah, talk us through making the countryside in California look alien. How did you go about that? Because there are just like little details and key things that just like, even when they're in their home, it's just like, that's not like a normal Earth house. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, before I tell you, I'm going to let my other cat in the room.
This is a cat-friendly podcast. People out there listening,
this is
just so
a very cat-friendly podcast.
Yes, all animal-friendly. If you got dogs, goats, cows, bring them all.
Oh yeah.
So first off, we actually did have some shooting outside of California. We had a second unit shot in Michigan, actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
That was for the miniatures. Here's Zira.
Oh, hey Zira. What a cutie.
She is who Guy Lee was based off of her. But the shots in California, what we did was, like you mentioned, those plants. So we only had one. And basically the trick was not trying to make the terrain look alien, but trying to avoid it looking human in Earth. So gotcha. I did everything. It was less about adding things and more about hiding stuff. And it was just a matter of creative like angles and editing. And then obviously we tried to put that plant in every shot we could. It's not in every single one, but we tried to put it in as many as possible. And I think it ended up being perfect, because in the end, when you see it all cut together, it does flow as if they're growing all over, but it's not to an obnoxious amount where you're like, why is it in every fucking shot? So like it was a line that we had to ride to make it look that way. And then obviously there was a little digital, we added some planets in the sky to make certain stuff look like there's, more than just the moon. And then particles, we added some digital particles in a lot of shots that just gave it a subconscious unearthly feel, so that you may not even notice that they're there, but it makes you feel like, oh, something is fantastic about this. I don't see
Yeah.
particles when I go outside, so it must be another planet.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. That's
Yeah, and it
awesome.
does those plants. So here's the thing: when I was watching the film, it was I was consciously looking at them because they're very unique, and I haven't really seen anything like them. But again, like
Mhm.
Sam said, we watched the behind the scenes, and it's like, oh, that's on purpose that you keep seeing them pop up, and almost like they're
Yeah.
taking over a little bit, and it's just a little detail that I
Or a
think
little something
and
at the end.
foreshadowing, yeah. And it's something that it's always in your mind, like you said, it's always there. I guess another question to go off that in terms of more practical work on the film. This is a blood-soaked movie, and I don't know if you would
Yeah.
expect that right away from something called Alien Planet that's with telling this sci-fi story about two rival species that don't like each other that have to come together. But you get so much bloodshed in this entire movie. Can we talk a little bit about that? What was I guess, the initial spark of, oh, I want to make this movie super bloody. I want to make it super bloody. Then what was it like, putting all that into the film? What was it like behind the scenes, putting all the blood work into the film?
Yeah, so I think my initial reaction was I wanted it to be extremely bloody because in a lot of stuff, particularly like Star Trek, when you have social commentary, things mirroring Earth, where it's stuff dealing with prejudices and hatred and just bigotry towards others, like races or ethnicities, religions, whatnot. Um, it's a lot of family friendly because it's on
Mm-hmm.
TV.
Hmm.
But in real life, when you have that, war is not family friendly. It's brutal and disgusting, and people actually die, and there's a lot of gore and blood, and it's not good. And I wanted that point to get across. I wanted people to actually, when they watch this movie, even though there are silly things like barfing cats and enormous
Mm-hmm.
amounts of blood and aliens, I wanted people to genuinely sit down and think, yeah, we're not good people because this is exactly what we actually do on Earth, and it's not
Hmm.
cool. And I think blood makes it hit home more because it makes it more grotesque. Whereas if it's something where you make it available for all audiences, then you don't really get how heavy it is when you kill people or eradicate or force immigrate or all of the things that the Kamins did to the Lokai in this film.
Hmm.
Um, and as for on set, the meaning and the reason why I did it is a little heavy, but on set it was nothing but laughter and fun. It was the complete opposite of what it is when you watch it, because
Mm-hmm.
when you're dealing with blood on set, people just have so much fun because
Yeah.
we used 11 gallons of fake blood. And two, like when you watch the scenes, what it is it's constant blood being splattered in people's faces. So
Oh
like
yeah.
it happens. The very first time we did it on set was when Cac gets shot and it splashes Locke in the face. So we broke the ice immediately on that day where I was just like, so Alexandra, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this blood cannon directly at your face. I'm just going to launch it and you're going to be covered. And she was like, great, let's do it. The moment you get messy, it's like breaking the ice. Like it allows everyone on set to enjoy it and just go, we're going to be a mess and there's nothing we can do about it. And from that moment
Mm-hmm.
on, you just embrace it to the point where even I think the last day we were using blood cannons was one day when um, I think it's when Locke gets shot in the leg and she was supposed to have one spurt out. And she was like, I mean, Alan, if we're going to do this, why not make it fun? Let's do two. And so I was like, sure. So we cut two holes in her pant legs, shoved up two and rigged it up. And we're just like, all right, now when you get shot, it's going to go out and the other way. And so, you just
I
start to embrace it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that shot too.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much like you expect it to be bloody because of everything that you've seen in the movie thus far, and then it comes out both sides, and you're just like, whoa, like
Well, because it
yeah,
also, physics and reality, it wouldn't really come out both sides like that.
no,
But who cares? The
yeah,
movie
Yeah.
and we're shooting blood everywhere. So, yeah,
Well,
it was a blood.
they're aliens. You don't know how they work. I mean, you even have
Mhm.
like an anatomy joke in the movie. You know, like their blood
Mhm.
doesn't work the same as ours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And everybody got a shot to use it. I think that was the one thing that I think if anyone didn't touch the blood cannon on set, you could feel their anxiousness of when can I pull the trigger. So we made it a very big point to make sure everybody who wanted to got to launch the cannon at least once in the movie, because there was more than enough opportunity for everybody to do it.
That's awesome. I
That's
definitely
awesome.
would have been chomping at the bit for the blood cannon. Like I'm
Yeah.
one of those people on set that would have been like, "Is it my turn yet?"
And the answer would have been yes.
Yeah. Oh man, the blood splatter to the face, it never gets old. Like every time it
Mhm.
happens in the movie, it's still just like like I loved it. I loved it. Did you
Well,
did you use actual spaghetti too? Is that like a real thing, or was that just a joke in the behind the scenes? Or was that
oh no.
legit spaghetti?
Yeah, we used spaghetti, rice, muffins, bread, and then we also fake rubber pieces that we used for certain stuff too. Basically, I wanted to use anything that was not actual animal parts. You know, a lot of low budget films will just use real meat.
Yeah.
I'm not about that, because it's like I'm not gonna kill an animal for a movie.
Yeah.
So I made a point to figure out any way possible to have our fake carcasses be, you know, not hurting anybody in real life.
God, man, I appreciate that
Yeah.
so much. I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's like my least favorite thing in movies. When I know, you know what I mean? Like after I know, it doesn't matter how good the movie is, it just kind of taints it a little bit for me. So
Yeah, because
that's
there's no
rad.
need to do it. But
Yeah.
you know, and I think it also made it better for the actors too, because I've had to do that before I became pescatarian. I would allow filmmakers to ask me to, well, hello there, Gyri.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name is Gypsy.
Gypsy.
So yeah, she found us. We did not find her. She found us. So
Good.
yeah.
A warm family.
Yep.
Well, I don't remember what I was saying.
Before my cat interrupted, we were
Oh,
talking about
the eating of meat stuff. So
Yeah.
yes,
so
yeah.
I used to have a lot of indie filmmakers would ask me to, it would be cooked and okay to put in my mouth, but that would be part of, you know, if I was a monster or a zombie, what they'd want me to eat so that it would look correct on camera. And before I stopped eating meat, I was okay doing it. But then once I didn't, I was like, no, I'm morally, just for me, I'm not okay doing that. And so I started finding ways to do it different. And you can absolutely find alternatives, especially like you can use Beyond Meat, Impossible Meat. It all looks like ground chuck. So if you need it to look at,
Mhm.
there's always a way to do a plant-based version of any of that
Mhm.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I made sure to do that so the actors didn't have to do that, because it's also one of those things where if it's meat or things like that, then you have to worry about, you know, refrigerating it, things
Yeah.
like that, keeping it healthy and not bacteria. Whereas, you know, there's scenes where Locke was eating carcass pieces. It was just a muffin. So we literally just grabbed a muffin from Crafty, and we knew there was no bacteria on it. We knew there was nothing like growing or it had been sitting out for too long. We soaked it in red colored corn syrup. So it was just sugar and bread. And so it made it easy for the actors, easy for cleanup and safe for everybody. So
That's
Mhm.
awesome. That's really cool,
Yeah.
man. I mad respect for that. Like, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Uh,
you got something,
Go
Casey?
ahead, Sam. Go ahead. No. You got a follow up. It sounds like.
Yeah, I was just so when you I have a weird note in here that just says GOI. I don't know what that means. Um,
Cool.
I must have started writing something and then did not finish the thought. But I do want to talk a little bit about the set design, because we talked about like the outdoor locations and things like that. But you also have like spaceship locations. A large part of your second act takes place in like a broken down spaceship that's been inhabited by the dweller. Can you talk about designing the spacecrafts and not just the inside, but the miniatures, the exteriors? I love the miniature work in this. It's awesome. Yeah, so just kind of talk us through building a spaceship, man. That's so cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so the inside actually was a pre-built soundstage. In LA, there are multiple sound stages and companies that have pre-built sets that you can rent out, and it makes it much more budget friendly for low budget things, and easier for time and stuff like that. So that was a spaceship we found, and it looked pretty much like that. All we did was we added fog and lights, and then when it was the dweller's broken down one, we added bones, carcass, and vines, just to make it look run down. But the whole thing I did not design. That's how it came. It was built that way. In fact, you'll probably see it in multiple other things. I know many TV shows have shot there, music videos. So you'll find that set in other things. But the exterior was a complete design of a good friend of mine, Kyle Gerard. He built the miniature, and that was of his own design, which was ever growing. I think as he built it, he kept adding to it. And at a certain point, I was like, well, I'm buying my plane ticket to come to Michigan to shoot this, so here's your deadline. At a certain point, he was finished, but he did so awesome, because not only was it practical and was real, but all the blinking lights were real. He actually wired LEDs and fiber optics into the ship. So all the blinking lights and stuff you see on the exterior are 100% there. And yeah, he just kicked so much ass on that. And at the end, I guess this is a spoiler. So if you guys, do we want to give spoilers or no? Your audience.
We can give a spoiler warning.
This is the spoiler warning for everyone.
Yeah, go watch Alien Planet, then come back.
Yeah, jump ahead a few minutes and then listen. So at the end, when the spaceship blows up, that was not scripted. That was actually because we were on set, and so my family lives in Michigan, and that's where I grew up with my buddy Kyle. And when you're with, as you probably know, a bunch of Midwest guys that don't work in the movies, if they see a miniature spaceship, the first thing they say is, well, when are we going to damn pyros out there in the Midwest? But that was my and I was like, Jason, there really isn't it doesn't make sense. There's not a space battle. I was like, let me think about it. And I asked Kyle, who created it, I was like, would you be okay if we blew it up? And he was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I think it'd be worth it because it'd be on screen forever. It'd be cool. So I was like, well, before we do it, let me ponder on it for the night. And the bit at the end when General Delitzsch dies and he says, Kameen is running out of water, I'm a goner. That was all scripted. That was all in the script from the very beginning, and we filmed it. And it was supposed to end with that. But then I was like, oh, but we could cut to the outside during that scene and watch the plants destroy it and explode it. So I told them, I was like, cool. What we need to do to pull this off is now we need to make plants that are the appropriate size for the ship. Because the ones I had would never work. They were 6 foot tall. They were as tall as me. So we stayed up late that night and we took a bunch of garden hose. We cut it into a certain length. And then with a hot glue gun, we made the spikes. And then we just hand painted them all green. And then we filmed that the next day. We went to Menards, which is like a Lowe's type of a store. And we bought mortars, and we put these giant firework mortars in there, and we put a couple bags of gasoline, and made it explode.
Yeah, that sounds like a Menards run. Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of my favorite shots of the whole movie, man, is
Oh, cool.
the plants coming around the spaceship and it blowing up. I was like, they actually blew up the miniature for that. That's
Yeah.
so awesome.
All
I just
thanks
expected
to
it
my brother.
to crush down. And
Which
then
was too, that was Kyle's great ingenuity. Is we thought, I was like, before it explodes, it does need to crunch to look like it's breaking. And so
Mhm.
he put straps around it, and he actually just hid behind it, clamping it slowly so it would go.
nice.
And yeah, and, you know, all thanks to my brother, just with his offhanded comment, when can we blow it up? But I think
That's
it works
awesome.
better
Yeah.
with it, so I'm grateful. I think it ends on a bang.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say what a happy accident, and it looks like Sam said, it just looks incredible, and it's a great way to end the movie. And I just love hearing that was not the plan the entire time.
Yeah.
It comes from a Midwesterner wanting to blow shit up. So I think that's perfect.
Is that spaceship, the land where it is, like the hill,
Oh, yeah.
matches the actual shot when we were there on location, because we actually built that. We ran to Lowe's or something and got a ton of bags of sand and actually just like recreated the location as a miniature
Oh my God.
to put the spaceship on, so it matched.
Mhm.
That's insane, man. That's insane. I love that.
Yeah, that's
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's
Thank you. I'm glad
that's so that's got to be like so much fun to do too. Like just almost like you're playing with your toys. Almost
Yeah.
like you're playing with your toys. What can we come up with? And again, with the blowing up, that's like something a 12-year-old boy thinks of, playing with his Star Wars toys. Anyway, it's like,
Oh,
I want to
God,
blow up the
yeah.
Millennium Falcon. Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yep.
One of my favorite Star Wars spaceship toys that I had was the one where like you could crunch in the front end and the panels popped out of it, like it, you know, like it actually crashed or something. I used to just chuck it at my wall just to watch it go poof.
Yeah.
I don't know that one, but I have the speeder bike from the original Kenner release from Return of the Jedi in '83, and it
Yeah.
actually that makes it fling apart.
That's awesome.
Oh
Yeah, yeah, I've seen those. Oh my God. That's rad, dude.
So this is
Yeah.
going to lead me into my literally the next question I had, because I just want to know this, Alan. What's your origin story with sci-fi, with horror, with genre?
Yeah.
What was kind of like the inciting moment for you to be like, oh my gosh, this is something I want to do. I want to blow up my toys in real life.
I don't know if I've ever actually had there's no like light bulb moment that said, this is it. This is the new me. It's kind of just always been me. You know, I've always, when I was a kid, you know, when I would get Star Wars toys, I never got the humans. I always bought the Jabba's Palace characters. I loved the Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles, they're all mutants. There's no humans. I mean, you got April, but who bought it? You never bought that one. You bought the Melting Garbage Man or Leatherhead or, you know, things like that. So, and then, you know, we talked earlier before we were rolling is we were talking Ghostbusters and Gremlins.
Yeah.
Like, those are like my all-time favorite things. And I think it's just always been my passion. I think I honestly even remember probably my first memory of watching a movie or TV before even things like Sesame Street. I think I watched Hellraiser before anything else. It's like the earliest memory of watching something on TV. And then
that's a hell of a movie to start with.
Yeah.
Well, you know, you got Sci-Fi Channel on TV and you're left alone. Sure, you just hit play, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Channel, they edit out all the bad stuff, you know, so it's like it was made for TV. And then like sci-fi has always been a passion of mine. I think another one of my earliest things is watching Planet of the Apes. I watched it with my grandfather on Sci-Fi Channel. You know, they had the Planet of the Apes marathon where they'd play all 5 of them, and he
Mhm.
recorded it on VHS for me, and so I would just watch that over and over again. And yeah, just I think those are the movies that spoke to me because it was deep. You know, it was visually eye candy. There's aliens and monsters, but at the same time, they did have morals and values, and you learned a lot about, you know, humans in it because, you know, humans are nasty people.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love how that nihilism comes through in Alien Planet. I really do. I
Yeah.
just
Good.
the ending hits and I'm just like, yeah. That's about right.
Well, you know, it's one of
Mhm.
those things where at the premiere, we had a theatrical premiere for the cast and crew and all the backers. There's about 100 people in the audience, and we had a Q&A afterwards. And one of the questions was, what was the inspiration for the ending? And the lead actress, Alexandra, she joked, real life. And we all got a good laugh. I was like, actually, she's not wrong. Like, in a way, there's 2 answers to it. One is that is real life. Like, if you act the way that they did in this movie, which is a lot of constant prejudiceness and selfishness and not being willing to understand or get along with others, that's what happens. And that's what's happening in the world. And we even had things like that with, you know, the planet fighting back all the time. We have things like global warming is happening for real. And then you have things like COVID. It was a worldwide pandemic. I mean, when you have a virus that goes across literally the entire world, it's a big deal. And
Mhm.
so things like the ending of Alien Planet is not, it's not unrealistic. It's in that world that I created of those species in that setting, it's a very rare, very realistic ending compared
Yeah.
to the mirroring that is doing to Earth. And then there's also the other aspect of that ending is, you know, it's very Rod Serling style. You know, while it also makes sense and there are hints to it along the way, it is kind of a twist and it leaves the viewer going, didn't expect that. So
Mhm.
in a way, it's a little real life and a little bit of a nice Rod Serling style twist.
Mhm.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Planet of the Apes. 'Cause I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan as well, and I was getting Planet of the Apes vibes watching the movie, especially all the stuff taking place in the desert. That feels very Planet of the Apes.
Yep.
It is probably my all-time favorite franchise. I love
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes. So there's
Are you
there's a lot of inspiration for
you
that in the
pumped for the
movie.
new one?
I am
Ish. Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah. I was like, I'm stoked. I can't wait, man. Every time they make a new
I'm-
one of these, I'm just like, yeah, bring it on.
I don't think there's a bad Apes movie. I think every variation is awesome, and I'm in love with all of
Mhm.
them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great, and I think it's funny because the Planet of the Apes thing, the music was heavily influenced by Planet of the Apes. The composer and I had
Okay.
many conversations with Jerry Goldsmith, and um, what would they have done in Planet of the Apes was kind of a big
Mhm.
question that we always talk. I think the
I could
music
see
for
that.
Alien Planet was inspired by that, mixed with the 2013 version of Evil Dead. Those were kind of our 2 big
Okay.
Mm,
um, inspirations for the music.
Mhm.
It's very dronal. It's very, you know, it's not melodic. There's not a lot of melody. It's more like drones and tones and emotion through sound design with the music.
Mhm.
yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The music goes hard in this. That's awesome.
Yes, well, it was funny because when the composer Tim Parker, props to you, when he was writing it, he was writing as I was editing, so I'd be sending him scenes and he'd be composing it. When we're in the dweller area, which goes on for, I believe that it goes on for a good half hour, if not more. Um, he was like, I'm in hell. I feel like I'm captured by the dweller myself because the dronalness of that there's this, we have a sound for every character so that it's kind of reoccurring to trigger where we're at and who we're with, and the dwellers has this type of sound that happens whenever the Dweller comes. And it's lots of bass and lots of that sound, and it's just drone after drone. And he was like calling me, he's like, when is this fucking scene over?
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Okay,
I got two more questions before we wrap this up. One of them I just have to ask because I would be remiss if we didn't ask something about two of the movies that you worked on. One of them's right behind you, Godzilla King of the Monsters. Another one I want to talk a little bit about, Blade the Iron Cross. What's it like going into established franchises like those? Not only just going into them, you portrayed like iconic characters going into those in very different terms, from doing motion capture on Godzilla, and then you were doing what would you call the actual work you did on Blade the Iron Cross in terms of
Blade was a suit,
the acting
so
style,
that
I guess. Just a suit. Okay.
Yeah, it was a suit. So I'd say that was some people call it suit performance. I just call it acting.
Yeah.
But it's funny you mentioned those two because they're actually the complete opposites in the size of scale. King Ghidorah is the biggest monster I've ever portrayed, and Blade's the smallest.
Yeah.
So it's fun that you mentioned them. Blade is really a special spot in my heart because, along with Hellraiser, I think Puppet Master is probably one of my earliest memories of watching a movie. That was also on Sci-Fi Channel all the time, or another channel. I don't know at this point. It could have been something else, and I don't even remember. But I'm confident it was Sci-Fi Channel. And I love all the Puppet Master movies. I watched them so much as a kid. There's the first 6, I think I watched a million times as a kid. After that, I think either I was a little bit older or it was the platforms of where they played stopped or changed, and eventually they went to streaming only, the Full Moon only site and stuff like that. And then John Lachago, who I'd worked with on a couple other films, he called me one day and he's like, I want you to play Blade. And I was like, fuck yes. So we talked about what he wanted and what we wanted to do with it. And he was like, so one of the big advocates for this was Tom Devlin, because he also wants you to do this. So I was like, cool, let me go talk to Tom. And I went to talk to Tom, and basically we discussed what the suit would be like. And I went and got a life cast so they could fit the helmet on me. I think they didn't end up using it. I think it's just a welding mask with all the stuff bolted to it. But they ended up fitting it appropriate for my size. And it was awesome because we got on set and Tom and his team suited me up. We got me in front of a green screen, and then they put the camera up on the ladder so it would shoot downward so that it looked like, the angle of a human looking at a smaller puppet, because the puppets they're about Chucky doll size in the movie. Yeah. So they needed to shrink me down on the green screen and make me look that size. And then, John would just tell me the actions he needed. He had basically a list of the things that Blade was doing, because they used a real puppet for a large chunk of it, and that was Tom's puppeteering. But the stuff they couldn't use it for was things that were heavy stunts, like running or jumping, slashing, things that a puppet couldn't get away with. They had to do. And so basically they blended Tom's work and my performance together in the film. And it was awesome because, Blade is like, he's the main puppet. He's the leader of the puppet. So that was awesome. I think the only other thing in a Puppet Master movie that would make me geek out more would be the totem puppets, because those were always my favorite as a kid.
Yeah.
And then Godzilla was the complete opposite. It wasn't practical. It was motion capture. And Yeah, that movie was career changing because it's such a huge franchise. I know Puppet Master is a big franchise, but not the size of Godzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Godzilla is worldwide mainstream, and I remember when I got the call for that, I was just like, I don't think it sunk in. I don't think it sunk in until even after filming. Even filming it didn't feel real. It was interesting. I think really the time when it clicked the most was actually when we did the conventions after the movie when talking to the
Yeah.
fans and stuff,
Yeah.
because it was so real how the fans admired what we did, and I was just so grateful for that. But that was a blast. Basically, we had one actor for Godzilla, which is TJ Storm, and then we had three actors for King Ghidorah, one for each head. We had Jason Lyles in the center because he's the tallest, and then Richard Dorton on the left, and myself on the right. And the four of us choreographed all the fight scenes. So every time you see us on screen, we did all those fight scenes in real life. We had multiple cameras for reference, and we did motion capture for capturing the digital performance of our bodies and everything. And yeah, all those scenes that you see in the movie, we really did. And then the thousands of digital artists made us look amazing afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was a great collaboration. You know, Jason and Richard, you know, I consider them brothers now. Like, we are always talking and we're always meeting up and hanging out. It was a bonding experience, you know, doing that and playing such an iconic character together. We had a lot of fun. It was great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
that's so cool to hear. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
indulging in my nerdy question. Talking about two of my favorite franchises. So thank you
Oh,
so much for
awesome.
talking about those.
Well,
One more question. It's one that
yes.
I feel like every time we ask this question, everyone's like, "Oh, I didn't think of that before." I don't know what that answer is. I'm hoping you have a movie maybe we haven't mentioned yet as the answer to this question. So if people are going to go out there, they're going to go watch Alien Planets. Like you said, it's on available to rent, to own. You can watch it on Tubi, you can watch it on YouTube TV, Amazon, buy the Blu-ray. If they're going to do that, what movie should they follow up Alien Planet with?
Yeah. What's a good double feature?
Wow. Well, if you're in the mood for similar vibes, Enemy Mine, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's a movie about a human and an alien who are at war and have prejudices, and they're stranded on a planet and they're forced to get along to survive. It's a similar plot. You know, it's interesting because a lot of people would say, "Oh, isn't that the same movie then?" But they're so different. And also, this concept is such a common concept in sci-fi. You have you know, Hell in the Pacific has done it. There's an episode of Star Wars Rebels that did it. There's like 100 episodes of Star Trek that have done it. This
Yeah.
is this is a very common.
Even Seth MacFarlane's The Orville has done it at this point, you know, like, yeah. It's a trope. It's a trope, and it's a trope for a reason, right?
For two reasons. One, it's fun to watch, and two, it's a sad truth that prejudices have never left Earth. To this day, we have not grown as a species enough to not stop telling this story. So one day, I hope that these stories are irrelevant and people can't fathom why this doesn't make sense. Why can't they just fucking get along? But currently, we are not there yet.
Yep.
But so Enemy Mine, I would say, is a great double feature with it.
Awesome.
If you want something, a change of pace, I suppose. Maybe go with Renfield. Renfield has large amounts of blood, but it's a comedy. It will leave you laughing, smiling. So go with that movie.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, two great picks.
Yeah.
There. Two very different double features, though.
Yeah.
Pick your mood. If you want
Yeah.
somber, go with Enemy Mine. If you want to end on a laugh, go with Renfield.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Well, awesome. Alan, thank you again for
Yeah.
coming on. Congrats on the movie. Congrats on one, just we
Absolutely.
know how hard it is to just get a movie done. So congrats on getting not only just a movie on this large of a scale, as an independent movie. That's awesome. So congrats on the film.
Yeah.
Again, where can people watch this one more time?
Yeah, one, thank you. I appreciate the compliments. And it does truly mean a lot, because anyone who knows what it does take to make a movie, and then particularly a movie, you know, with the type of stuff that's in this,
Yeah.
I appreciate that you understand that. So thank you. Where to watch it? If you go to alienplanetfilm.com, you'll find links to all of it. But you can watch it on Amazon, Apple TV, Tubi, Blu-ray, which you can buy on Amazon.com. And then the more obscure sites, you can watch it on Reveal, Typhoon. And then there's a unique one that I never heard about until they started carrying Alien Planet, is called Woku. Evidently, Woku is like an interactive one. You can watch it with other people and like talk during it, which I think is neat. It's almost like a watch party, I
Interesting.
guess.
Yeah.
That's
Which
cool.
you can also
Yeah.
do on, I think, as well.
Cool. That's
So
awesome.
yeah, go watch it there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, watch it with
I
friends.
recommend everybody, yes, watch it with friends, because this movie is,
Or with
while
someone
it
you
does have a
hate. You
lot of
might be
serious-
friends at the end. Right?
maybe. But
This
the
movie
movie's
could
silly.
heal people.
It could. Not like a peach barf, but
Yeah.
But the movie is fun. Like, the movie has these serious things we talked about, but at the same time, it is goofy. You know,
Mhm.
there's a barfing space cat. There's blowing up ships. There's blood that normally, if that amount came out of you, you'd be dead. So it is a ride to enjoy. While there's serious undertones, it's meant to be an adventure. So watch it with others, laugh at it, have fun, and just enjoy the wackiness of it.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yes, go check it out, everyone. Alien Planet. Alan, thank you again so much
Yeah,
for
thanks,
coming
Alan.
on. This is a blast.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.